Hey folks, this is Brian. I had a fellow, oh shoot, I should have written his name down. He made a comment in one of my videos asking about whether he should invest in RuneQuest 2 or 3, I think it was, because he didn't want to duplicate, I guess, with the new RuneQuest Glorantha coming out. So I started thinking, I'm not an expert on Chaosium or RuneQuest, but I guess they're a passion of mine, maybe? I don't know. So I decided I'm going to go ahead and do a little comparison review of RuneQuest 1, 2, which are essentially the same system, just two different publications. RuneQuest 3 by Avalon Hill. RuneQuest 4/5, which is Mongoose RuneQuest 1 and 2. MRQ 1 and 2. And RuneQuest 6/Mythras and RuneQuest Mongoose. Sure, it's Mongoose. Mongoose RuneQuest 1, 2, which is RuneQuest 3, 4, was republished later on as Legends or Legend. Same system, different name because I guess they lost copyright or whatever, as the name has transitioned through different companies. Okay, RuneQuest 1, 2. This is the reprint I supported the Kickstarter for because I don't have my original leather red cover one back in 80. I think I the one got that one. So RuneQuest 1, 2, just a couple things that appeal to me, things that are important to me, and that sort of thing. Character creation, all stats, 3d6, which I kind of liked. Later on, we'll talk about how they changed for size and intelligence, but why? I don't know. Okay, then they have the abilities. You got your attack ability, your parry ability, your defense ability, your hit points, which are based on con but are modified by size and power. Your damage bonus, perception, stealth, manipulation, knowledge. These are standard characteristic, standard ability type categories. There we go. Ability categories. They're pretty standard throughout RuneQuest. The attack and parry are slightly different, but they're very similar to agility and manipulation, which is what they move to later on. But all of these abilities are modifiers to the category skills within them, right? So your attack bonus applies to all weapon attacks, right? And when you're figuring out what your bonus is, they're quantum packets of numbers. 9 to 12, 0 modifier, because that's average, right? Below that, +5, or below that, -5, a -10, or if it's a secondary kind of skill, you don't get a -5 until you're really, really low. And the flip side of that, your bonuses go up as your your characteristics go up, your stats go up. And sometimes it's right after, 13 to 15 is +5, 16 to 18 is +10, 19 to 21 is +15, blah, 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 blah. Sometimes it doesn't start getting most until you get to +16, that kind of thing. So quantum number bonuses as things go up. Interesting, because you can start to adjust those, because at one point you're doing blocks of 5s, but after you hit a certain number, you start doing blocks of 10. Or you're doing blocks of 8, and at a certain point you start doing blocks of 16. Makes it hard for calculating stuff if you're trying to figure out, little linear progression. Okay, they do the strike ranks. You've got your hit locations. And then you have your reactions to injury. If it goes to 0, you lose the use of it. If it goes to double, if it's a limb, you can only take max of double its hit points. But if you go triple, it's irrevocably maimed, severed, that kind of thing. Bleeding gets involved there. Have to make con rolls, going unconscious. Triple out in the head and chest, abdomen, instant death, that kind of thing. Things I like. Okay, every skill has its own base percentage. They talk about going over 100% because you roll less than the difference from your skill to 100 in order to increase. That's your increased roll percentage chance. But you always have your intelligence as a percentage. So if your intelligence is 10, you always have a 10% chance of increasing once you get to 90 or above. One skill check. Oh, every adventure get to have a chance of doing one skill check on any skill you were successful with. And that's I got 5% here. That doesn't sound right, but it's actually a 5% increase in that. And that happens after a week. You get like a week of figuring things out and internalizing what you learn, that kind of stuff. Okay. You've got battle magic, which leads to shamanism, it leads to being a shaman, which is where you get into spirit stuff. You know, summoning and binding spirits. And battle magic is your standard battle magic, you know, blade sharp, increasing your chance to hit and doing damage, invisibility so people can't see you, you know, finding things, increasing your stats. There's one for increasing your con, your strength, your dexterity, you know, things like that. Okay, and then they get into rune magic, where they talk about being an initiate and going to being a rune lord or rune priest or a rune lord priest, all of which have requirements and all of which have not bonuses, benefits. There we go, benefits. Permanent magic items. They have two types of permanent magic items in Runequest 1.2. A spell matrix and a power crystal. And a spell matrix has like a permanent spell matrix, you know, a matrix of a permanent spell in it. So you don't have to know the spell yourself, you just cast it from the matrix. And then power crystals either hold power that you then use to fuel your, or magic points to fuel your, it's still power though in 1.2, to fuel your spells, which means as you cast spells, your power goes down, so your resistance to spells goes down. That was a bit rough, even for me. And they have special spells, special crystals that will, you know, augment your healing spells, or will automatically do a heal too, you know, things like that. They do have a set of sample cults in the book: Orlanth, Kagalitor, and some of their subservient cults, but that's it. That's the only real problem with Runequest 1.2 as far as a complete system in less than 200 pages. It's the fact that you only cover for 2 cults when you've got, you know, the Lightbringers, which is 7 guys, and there's like 3 or 4 major troll cults, you know, that kind of thing. So that could have been better. Okay. Runequest 3, Avalon Hill box sets. I got a whole bunch of, I don't have all of them, almost though. Some of them are reprints though, so you know what it's worth. Okay, stats again, 3d6, except for, and this is where it changed, intelligence and size are now 2d6 plus 6, which averages at 13 instead of 10.5. So I'm not sure why they did that, unless there's some kind of system-wide mechanic dealing with creatures of other intelligence and other sizes that they're trying to bounce off of. I'm not sure. I still actually like just doing 3d6, because then if you want to, excuse me, as a GM, you can say, you know, roll 3d6 6 times and just put them where you want them, kind of thing, or, you know, roll in order, that kind of deal, whatever. Then you have your magic points, because you don't actually cast power anymore. You actually cast magic points just based on your power. You have fatigue, which gets involved with the encumbrance system, and your hit points. In Runequest 3, your hit points are the average of your con and your size, which I really like, because it makes more sense to me that you're going to have more hit points if you're big, period. It's just, you know, that makes sense to me. Then you have your damage modifier and strike ranks. And then you got all the category skills. Instead of attack and parry, you've got agility and manipulation is where the attack goes. You got communication, knowledge, magic skills, manipulation, perception, and stealth. And those are the categories of skills. And then those categories give you a bonus for all those spells based upon your stats. And in Runequest 3, they had a really interesting mechanic that I really liked, actually, where you take the skill you're using for that category modifier and you subtract it from 10. So if you're 10, it's 0, no bonus. But if it's 15, that's 5. And if it's 5, it's minus 5. So it's a nice linear progression, easy to calculate, very easy to put into a spreadsheet, which is what I did and I used a lot of. So you got 1% for each point above or below the 10. And then you got some secondary ones, which is 1 point for every 2 points. So it's half the difference. And then some obviously are negative. Trying to be stealthy when you're big is hard to do, so your size is a negative modifier. So it's just reversed. For every point below, you get a plus. For every point above, you get a minus. Okay, cultures and occupations. And this is another thing I loved about RuneQuest 3. You've got, primitive, nomad, barbarian, civilized, the standard sort of cultures. And that becomes consistent throughout the rest of the RuneQuests. I've got some notes here that I don't understand what they mean. That is spirit magic. Okay. And each of your cultures, you've got a standard set of occupations, and they've even got a percentile die rolling. So it kind of gives you the fact that only 1% of your population is going to be sorcerers, that kind of thing, which I really liked. And then each occupation has the standard set of skills. Everybody who's a hunter is taught bow, is taught tracking, is taught this, that, and the other, right? Standard skills that you're going to have because you did this thing. You're expected to be able to do these things, right? I really like that. Also helped with rolling up NPCs and plugging them into a spreadsheet and have it all automatically generated. Primitive and nomads are shamanistic magic use. Their magic is shamanistic, so it's no longer battle magic, it's now spirit magic, but all that kind of stuff and the spirit binding stuff. Okay. Barbarians, the magic system is magic is tied to religion, obviously, in this. It's split 50-50 between shamanism or your shaman and your priest, or spirit magic and divine magic, right? So you have your priests of the church, but you also have not say druids, but you've got your hedge witch and those kinds of people that are still hold on to old religions kind of thing. And then your civilized category, you have 25% are sorcery based, and then the other 75% are then divine. So you obviously got the priest, people go and see him, but then you've got these guys who, for lack of a better word, and probably a more inaccurate word, underground, dealing with sorcery, trying to get power that way, devil worship maybe, that kind of stuff, possibly. But that's how it's split out, and I really like that. It made sense to me. And in those categories, those occupations, they talk about those different skills I mentioned, and it's got a specific number. You get this many percentage points every year that you're this. Great. And then there's also a deal about magic and power increase rolls and that kind of stuff. To increase, I started playing every time you're successful with a skill check, spend a week after your adventure doing whatever, internalizing again, you roll a d6. You get a 1d6 percentage increase in that thing. Well, I like this whole concept of skill increase rolls and that kind of deal, and getting actually a variable percentage in there. Getting a spell increase check for every skill kind of gets in this whole basket of weapons thing. I hit with my broadsword, good. I put it with both my backs. Hit my backs, good. I use my small shield. Use my medium shield. My large shield. Completely out of control. And I changed that into whenever you make a critical hit, you get a skill increase check, and you can make more than one. I thought about changing that to fumbles, learning from your failures kind of thing, or doing both even. I've kind of filled with those ideas. Haven't actually implemented them. But that way, the guy who's hitting with his broadsword is going to keep hitting with the broadsword because he goes with his broadsword and he wants to get better. Makes sense to me. They also add in with RuneQuest 3 missile and spell hit locations, which is different. In the melee, your chest only gets hit on 12 because the chest has got all these arms and legs and things in the way, right? Well, if you're shooting him or thrusting a spear at him, right? Chest is a huge target, so it gets more. And so they plug that in. Another thing I really liked. One thing I really loved about RuneQuest 3 was the 3 perspectives of magic: spirit magic, divine magic, and sorcery. That just, to me, encompassed everything and made sense. Sorry, I didn't mean to build the table. And in sorcery, you talk about intensity, range, and duration. You can manipulate all that kind of stuff, right? And then they go into enchantments, the permanent magic, which gets back to spell matrices and that kind of thing. Okay, RuneQuest 4.5, or MRQ1 or Legend. I got that because you couldn't buy the Avalon Hill stuff anymore. And I was getting back in the game and I wanted to do more RuneQuest. I wanted to see, how did it evolve, that kind of thing. Stats. They give you some options on rolling your stats about rolling an extra die. You know, the 4 dice and taking the best 3, which aren't always the largest 3. Depending on what you want to do, that kind of thing. And again, intelligence and size are 2d6 plus 6. Attributes. They got new stuff. They got combat actions, damage bonus still, hit points, which is now con plus size. So you've essentially doubled your hit points from 3. Magic point, strike rank, all that kind of basic stuff. And then you get your basic skills, which everyone has, which are based on your stats, which give you that plus or minus modifier. And it's based on either 1 or 2 stats. For example, dex times 2 or strength plus con, right? That kind of thing. That gives you an average. Actually, this one, there's some just straight one number. So you have an average of 10 or 20 for every single skill. And to me, that doesn't make sense. Skill bases are different based upon what the skill is, to me. Now, does this raise the base percentages sometimes, but not always? So I can see some people have argued the point that the base of your skill should be based on your stats. Well, that's what your skill modifier, attribute modifier thing is all about. So maybe you should beef that up. Maybe. Okay. They have a section on previous experience. So did 1 and 2, by the way. You spent lunars on training, is how it worked. Based upon, and the training you could get was based upon what you were doing. But here you have a culture and a profession, and you get, I should have reviewed this thing before I started doing this, but you get to choose your profession, you know, which is, you know, okay, I have an issue with that, or even choosing your culture, really. But your previous experience is 5 to 10%, up to a total of 70. On your profession, it's 5 to 20%, and averages out to about 50. Oh, when you start adding stuff up, you start getting these pretty high numbers. That's the thing I was getting to on that one. And then you get, on top of that, free skill points. You get 100 points to throw wherever you want. I have an issue with that. That's also the only place you can put points for advanced skills. Advanced skills can only be spot initially with your free skill points. Okay, then they also have hero points, which I didn't get much into. Essentially, you spend hero points to get heroic options or something like that from Red, which sounds an awful like Runequest. Should have double checked on that. And there's rune casting, which is power plus charisma, because the runes, and I'll get to that in a second. Okay, weapons now have armor points plus hit points. Before they just had hit points, and if you overcame all the hit points, then the hit points start going down. That kind of deal. Now they have armor points, which means that if you do the armor parts, they start getting hit points. So maybe it's easier to damage weapons. I'm not sure. And armor affects your skills. It's a skill modifier. If you're wearing armor, your skills will go down. I don't really have an issue with that. They're back to a single hit location, which kind of threw me off. Okay, runes. The runes are physical magical things that you find out adventuring. They are the blood drops of the gods, which used to be the power crystals. That's what the blood drops of the gods were, power crystals. But these are physical items. And when you get a physical item, stone with a rune carved on it or whatever, you can then attempt to integrate it into you, and then you get runic powers based upon that. Interesting idea. Not too bad. Rune magic spells are like battle or spirit magic, but you can boost them freely. In Runequest 1.2, you had Blade Sharp 1, and then you had to learn Blade Sharp 2, and then you had to learn Blade Sharp 3. And if you had Blade Sharp 3, you could cast 1, 2, or 3. But if you had Blade Sharp 1, it was just 1. That's all you could do. Well, now if you have the Blade Sharp rune, you can cast it as high as you want to put, magic points into it. They've got runic magic, divine magic, shamanistic magic, sorcery, and they add in dragon magic and demon magic. Those are new for Runequest 4.5 or MRQ 1.2 or Legend. Starting to get into this, getting special magic things for everything, and I'm a little iffy on that kind of bit. Talk about cults and being an acolyte. And then with your hero points and other requirements, you get legendary abilities, which, can be kind of cool, I suppose. Okay, RuneQuest 6 or Mythras. I don't have an actual copy, just a PDF. But a RuneQuest 6 cover printout looks really pretty. So we went with the Mythras one. Same picture, based off the iconic picture. Okay. RuneQuest 6 Mythras. Action points. We talked about combat actions in 4.5, but I didn't really go in detail about those. But action points in RuneQuest 6 is how often you're going to act during a combat round, and it's based on your intelligence and dexterity. I don't really have an issue with that necessarily, but as much as a realist as I am, or simulationist that I am, I have no problem with saying combat is a mass kind of confusion of things happening in about this much time, and the end result is you hit or you missed, or it was all blocked, or it was partially blocked, or whatever. Ooh, we're hitting 20 misses. Excuse me, this is going to be a long one. Sorry, guys. Excuse me. Okay, the damage modifier table is much more detailed. They go all the way down to like minus 1d8 up to 0 at the 9 to 12 version. And then they do, I think it's like 5 points. I didn't say, like every 5 points of strength plus size, you do a die step increase. So you do a D3, a D4, a D6, a D8, D10, a D12, and then they go to a 2D6. You have a better chance of rolling a 12 on a D12 than you have rolling a 12 on 2D6. So I have an issue with that. And then they start, mixing dice again, dice step increase ideas as they go up. Interesting, but I think maybe too convoluted. Then you get an experience modifier. Remember, you get experience rolls for successful things, and we may even talk about that a little later. But with your experience modifier, which is based on your charisma, the higher your charisma is, the more rolls, increased rolls you get, or less. If you've got a low charisma, you get to subtract 1. But you get like a +1 or +2, if I remember right, and maybe even higher. This is simulating a social simulation mechanic kind of thing. People with high charisma can get more out of the people they're dealing with. For example, if you're out fighting with guys, everybody's going to tell you, hey, dude, when you did this, you should have done that instead. It's not training, but it's just, things. But as this all adds up, you get more. Yeah, makes sense to me. I won't bother with it, though. Hit point locations. Locations are the only thing with hit points. You don't have your body's worth hit points anymore. It used to be that you had hit points plus hit point location. So you can get nickel and dimed until your hit points went to 0. Or you have lots of hit points, but you get whacked really hard and go unconscious. Now it's just locations. And it's based on your con plus size, and it's in blocks of 5. And those numbers, if I did a really quick correlation to RuneQuest 3, right? RuneQuest 3, the average guy, 10 strength, 13 size, 23, round up, 24 is 12. 12 hit points. His head's got 4. Here, 23, his head hit point has 5. His chest is 6. And the numbers are just higher in general, based on what it should be average-wise. I didn't go into a whole lot of detail on that, just a quick check on a basic guy. Okay, in RuneQuest 6, you have luck points. Something I hate. Just me. Okay, strike ranks in RuneQuest 6 is a set number. It's not based on anything. Well, it's based on the average of your dex plus your intelligence. But in RuneQuest 1.2, a strike rank was based on modifiers from your dex, from your size, what your weapon length was, that kind of stuff, all added together. How far you moved and around, that kind of stuff. Now it's just a set number. Then they have a list of standard skills. And the base percentage for those is either 1 or 2 characteristics. And this is where that dex times 2 thing came in again. So the average is 20. So the average of every standard skill is 20%. I just don't like that. Again, if you like this whole idea of your stats being higher, being a greater influence on your base percentage to hit, throw it in with your modifiers. Oh, and the types of standard skills they had reminded me of 4th edition D&D when they, well, it was 3rd edition when they first started skills, 3rd and 4th edition, because they changed the game when they got to 5th. I never played 4th edition, so I don't know that very well. I only played 3rd edition or 3.5, just like once, maybe twice. But they have those flavor of skills as your standard skills. And if anybody wants more detail, throw a message at the bottom and I'll answer it. Okay. RuneQuest 6 has combat styles. Instead of having a specific skill for each weapon and each shield, too much. Each weapon, each shield, you've got a combat style. Concept-wise, I love it. I haven't been in the SCA and fought, sword and shield is sword and shield, right? It's work together. If you're using 2 swords, Florentine, it's 2 swords. You're working together. You do it together. So that makes sense to me. However, the combat styles they have in RuneQuest 6 don't really make much sense. Now, I've never played RuneQuest 6, and I didn't go into a whole lot of detail looking through the rule book on RuneQuest 6 on how combat all worked and stuff like that, so I could be completely off base, but they give an example like Hoplite is a combat style, which includes large shield and spear and javelin, or something like that, Spear and shield, yeah, that's a combat style. Spear and shield is not the same combat style as javelin. They're different. Oh, okay. Well, anyway. Then you get your cultural skills. Again, the same different kinds of cultures, and it's a point distribution thing, which I can understand, but I don't like, because society and your environment puts limits and rules on you. Now, there's some stuff you got. Does people have free time they can do their own thing? Yeah. So I can see throwing some free points in, but not all of it. They go into social class, which is based on a percentile across your culture, and it adjusts your starting money and gives you some starting resources kind of thing. Cool, interesting, I liked it. Don't know if I'd use it though. Family, reputation, connections, allies, contacts, rivals, enemies, and passions. All this is background stuff for your character, which is cool. A lot of detail in here. Almost too much detail for me, if that makes any sense. Okay. Careers, getting your career, that is by culture again, and again, it's a point distribution, given like 100 points distributed throughout these skills. Each career by culture has a certain set of standard skills, 30 points in there. There's an age table, which is cool, because I use aging in my campaigns as well. Where you get a bonus to your skill points, which gives you a max increase. Like if you're young, you can only increase it up to 10%, the skill up by 10% kind of thing. And obviously, the older you get, the larger it goes or whatever. You get background event rolls. The older you are, the more background events you have. And then aging rolls. If you're really old, or the older you get, if you're old, you have aging rolls, which means you can lose physical stats or lose mental stats. Okay, magic. This is the first thing I noticed about RuneQuest 6. Because that's what I'm going to look for. Look at the magic section. They've got folk magic, they've got animism, they've got mysticism, they've got sorcery, and theism. Mysticism I can do without completely. Animism is just the animist side, the shaman side of spirit magic. So this kind of didn't rub me the right way, kind of thing. And then they have certain skills for executing things within those spheres of magic. For example, animism, you've got a spirit combat and spirit binding abilities that so your character does. So those are his professional skills. In mysticism, you've got traits and augments. So you can use your mysticism to augment your abilities, and they have specific traits like arrow catching and that kind of stuff. Sorcery was pretty standard. I don't know if I added some more stuff in here. But again, they've got intensity, you've got shaping. Shaping is range duration, multi-spell casting, multi-target tasking. I just used spell and targeting with RuneQuest 3. It's the same thing. You're just casting the same spell instead of different spells. So similar, but a little more expansive. And then with theism, you got 2 spell abilities, devotion and exhort. I didn't really dig too deep into that, so I don't know much about it. Okay. Crits and fumbles. RuneQuest 1, 2, and 3. You critted on 5% of your skill, but you got a special attack on 20% of your skill. slash impale, or impale slash and crush. RuneQuest 6, you have a crit on 10%, and you only fumble on a 99 or double lot. And if your skill is double lot, you fumble on a double lot. RuneQuest 1, 2, 3, it was 5% fumble. So the crit and the fumble were balanced out, kind of thing. So there's no specials here, no slash crush impales, because they have in their combat style impale. Okay, yeah, I won't go there. Modifiers. Environmental modifiers, you know, they easy, hard, whatever. For RuneQuest 6 is a multiple of your skill, so it's either half your skill or double your skill or a third your skill, you know, that kind of thing. Then you have a simplified table, so it's, you know, plus 40, plus 20, minus 10. You want to do that. It's an interesting mechanic. I'd look at it. I don't know how far I'd go. Armor has a strike rank penalty. It slows you down, kind of thing. Okay. Weapons have combat effects, and the armor points, hit points, like they picked up in 4 or 5. Shields, same thing, have combat effects and armor points and hit points again. Excuse me. This combat effects stuff just made things that much more complex, in my view. Perhaps more realistic. Maybe I'm not that much of a realist anymore. I don't know. Experience rolls are assigned by the GM at the end of a period. Session, story arc, whatever. Should be 2 to 4. Really loosey-goosey there. Okay. Training. They go into training, and training is covered in 3 and 1 and 2. I didn't check for 4 or 5. Training here is based upon the difference between your skill and the skill of your trainer. And you have to have at least 21% difference. It has to be 21% higher than you in the skill in order to train you. And then you get 1d2 out of it. And the higher the distribution, the more you get out of it, kind of thing. Does that make some sense? Yeah, it does. For me, training also includes practice. And you don't need a trainer to practice. And practicing makes you better if you're doing it right and that kind of thing. Okay. Combat styles have traits which are more like special effects than styles, in my opinion. And it's a whole page of stuff, so I won't go into it. Initiative. We have initiative in RuneQuest 6, a D10 plus your strike rank. Your combat actions are either proactive or reactive. They all cost 1 armor or action point, and there's a list of each of those. Plus, there's free actions you can do, and there's a list of those. Again, a lot of complexity that doesn't add to my play. That's the best way for me to put it. Attacks and parries are both actions. Attacks are proactive, parries are reactive. And can, quote, result in 1 or more special effects. And they've got a special effects table for that. Again, another level of complexity that, if you want to slow combat way down, this might be the system for you. I found it too big, too complex. I didn't get enough out of it for what I had to put into it. So I may look at a couple things in RuneQuest 6, but I probably won't. I got the PDF, that's about it. RuneQuest 4 or 5 I got just for materials because I want to get back into RuneQuest, so I'll never use anything out of that. RuneQuest Roleplay and Gloriantha is based off RuneQuest 1, 2 because those are both systems are owned by Chaosium. Chaosium didn't own the system that Avalon Hill ran. Chaosium didn't own the system that Mongoose ran. Chaosium doesn't own the system that Moon Designs developed, ran, whatever. So they had to go back to their own stuff, which I think is why. I can't prove it, but that's my understanding. That is why they had to go back to RuneQuest 1, 2, is because that was the system they owned. But I own 3, so I'm going to take a lot of 3 stuff and plug it into my RuneQuest Gloriantha as we start playing that. 30, almost 35 minutes, guys. If you're stuck in there, good on you, thanks. I hope this might have been of some value to somebody. It was interesting for me to go through and see the differences. It's kind of interesting to note that RuneQuest 4.5 was written by the same guys that wrote RuneQuest 6. They left Mongoose, got their own company, design mechanism, and did their own version of RuneQuest. Good on them. But that's it for me. Happy gaming.